welcome. This is the June 4th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. Hard to believe already June. Great weather. Providing our invocation today is Kevin Lynch, the Growth Director at LBMC, a Paul Harris Fellow +6, and one of the best darn presidents we've ever had.
Actually, more specifically, one of the top 100 best presidents for a 100-year-old club. You know? Dear Lord, as we listen to the talk today by Dr. Gerry Bradley, help us appreciate the value of a college education. It can give us opportunities in life, both personally and professionally, that we might not otherwise have. We are thankful that most Rotarians are fortunate that they had the opportunity to achieve and benefit from a college education. Also, through our mentorship and scholarship programs, we facilitate the opportunity for numerous young students to achieve a college education when they otherwise might not have had that chance. Help us to remember that a formal education is only the beginning of a lifelong process. Help us to never lose our curiosity and desire to learn and to achieve our full human potential. We express thanks to Dr. Gerry Bradley, came to the United States from Ireland for graduate studies, and over the years he rose to become the top leader in a major U.S. university. Guide him and other university leaders as they try to navigate through some of the difficult decisions and challenges universities have always faced. Also help them address some of the newer challenges, such as how to implement a fair NIL program without sacrificing other important programs. And help students develop critical thinking and learn to use AI with integrity so they can contribute more positively to our changing world. We ask for this in God's name.
Amen. Thank you, Kevin. And now to lead us in our pledge and four-way test is Joseph Gerry, the owner of Anti-Threat Solutions.
Hello, everyone. If you would, please read with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And did the four-way test?
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Rotarians, if you have a guest, please come on up and introduce. And I want to welcome my guest, my wife Ann, school teacher, so off for the month. Just one more.
President Ken and fellow Rotarians, I'd like to welcome my guest, Jim Alsop. I am your therapist from Bridgehaven, and Jim is one of my bosses. He's retired from Brown-Forman and is now the owner of Resiliency Risk Management.
President Ken and fellow Rotarians, my guest is Kevin Rapp. Kevin and I, he's the founder and CEO and president of Visor Health, so does telehealth, and hearing his name a lot more in the future. My name is Ray Strothman, and I'm an investor in Visor Health, and if anybody else wants to invest in a great company, Kevin would love to talk to you.
President Ken and fellow Rotarians, I'm Kathy Golightly Sanders, and I have two guests with me today. First is Maria Gurin, who's the Executive Director of Imagination Library. And second is past and future Rotary Club of Louisville member Mark Sanders, who's the Endowed Chair of Accounting at Bellarmine University.
President Ken, Denise Sears, I have one guest with me today, my son Mark Sears, who is a junior at U of L and a manager with the U of L men's soccer team. President Ken and fellow Rotarians, I'm President-elect Barbara Sexton Smith, and I have a guest once removed
Her name is Mariana Barzin. She is the Executive Director of Mayor Greenberg's Office for Strategic Initiatives, so all the really cool stuff you see, Mariana is behind it. She was originally Jennifer Hancock's guest. Thank you.
President Ken and fellow Rotarians, my guest today is my daughter, Dr. Victoria Hammond. She's a surgical resident at U of L and graduated from U of L Medical School.
Good afternoon, President Ken and fellow Rotarians. My guest today is Eva Bush. She is the Director of Finance of Middletown Christian Church, and she also spent 27 years Director of Operations and Finance for Farm Credit in America. And by the way, she's looking for her next opportunity.
President Ken, fellow Rotarians, I'm Das Ruprai. My guest today is Casey Boggs. Casey is the president of Reputation Us, a global public relations and reputation management firm based right here in Louisville. And he's a heck of a fun guy and a speaker on those topics. So please welcome him.
President Ken and fellow Rotarians, I'm Julie James with the Boys and Girls Haven. It's my pleasure to introduce my guest today, Alice Whiteneck. He is retired from state government and hopefully will be one of our Rotarians.
President Ken, John Bush, past president of this club. Very happy to introduce my guest, who some of you all may remember. He was a former Rotarian, and hopefully he will become one again. It's John Fisher. John's a consultant, commercial real estate broker and developer. He's the managing member of Fisher's Real Estate Brokerage and Betterment House. He is a partner and one of the owners of Hotel Genevieve down in Lulu. And as I said, he's a former downtown Rotarian. At that time, he had the classification in Scoutorama committee, so hopefully we can get him back to do some more committee and other work. Welcome.
Vernon Foster with the College of Business at the University of Louisville. I have two guests from the university. We have Dr. Amy Henley, the Dean of the College of Business. Please welcome. And then Dr. Jeff Blum, who is now the Executive Director of AI Strategy and Innovation. I'm sure the President of the university will speak to what our AI initiative is going to look like. So welcome.
President Ken, I'm Larry Williams, and I'd like to introduce you to Charlie Marsh, who is a partner at Galt Marsh Development Company. I've had the pleasure of working with him for about 10 years, and he probably could be a candidate for membership himself. So, Charlie, welcome.
President Ken, fellow Rotarians, Mike Howarda. My guest today is Lucas Boston, who is Associate Portfolio Manager at Fifth Third Bank, and his paperwork to become a Rotarian is getting inked soon.
Looking forward to having you, Lucas. Thanks to all of you for bringing such great guests. And after the meeting, if you want to learn a little bit more about it, the What is Rotary table is in the back with Delene where she is sitting, and Craig Sherman will be regaling you with all wonderful things about Rotary and give you a sneak peek about his big party Sunday, which is the summer social. If you haven't signed up for it, this is your last chance, so please register. It's always a great event. You can check VACDB or LouisvilleRotary.org for information about all of our events and projects, service projects. If you haven't already, follow us online on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram, and YouTube. And please share your photos from our meetings and events and tag us so that we can share. We have a few Rotarians in the spotlight to celebrate. Congratulations to Rotary Leadership Fellow Catherine Thompson and Rotaract Club Acting President Vivek Normal. They have both been appointed to the Young Professionals Association of Louisville's 2026-2027 Board of Directors. And congratulations to Neville Blakemore. He was featured in Louisville Business First. The article outlines how he and his wife Jessica Bird have opened their beautiful Georgian mansion as a venue to host nonprofit gatherings. Each week we like to give a special shout out to the new members, and hopefully some of you standing as guests will become them. But If you are a new member in the past year, please stand so we can salute you. Did I miss a Rotarian in the spotlight? Thank you. Apparently I missed another Rotarian in the spotlight. Okay. I saw that in the slide, but not in my idea. So President-elect Barbara Sexton Smith, she was appointed by Mayor Greenberg as the interim CEO of the Belle of Louisville Riverboats. KET is partnering with the Louisville America 250 Kentucky Committee to hold a free screening of the new Ken Burns documentary, The American Revolution. You can come at 5 o'clock to visit the Revolutionary Showcase of Community and Historic Partners, and the film screening will begin at 6. This is Monday. And then Renee Shaw will moderate a panel discussion including our own Maggie Harlow, connecting the spirit of service and civic education in 1776 with its meaning and impact in 2026. Sorry about that. Each week we'd also like to showcase some of our veteran Rotarians. Michael Huerta, who's just announcing Lucas, potentially new Rotarian, is celebrating 20 years in our club as a Rotarian this year, and I believe 30 overall. So come on up, Mike.
Got some notes here to keep me on track so I don't get too winded. But first of all, President Ken and fellow Rotarians, Mike Huerta. Some information on here I doubt very many people know in the room. I was born in Rensselaer, Indiana. Went to Frontier High School, where I played football, baseball, ran track, ran cross country. I actually had a chance to go play college baseball, not at U of L, but at the University of New Mexico. I tore a rotator cuff my freshman year, so my college career was cut short. I have been a Rotarian for 27 years. In 1997 is when I joined. I've actually served in Rotary in 3 clubs. I was a founding member of the Albuquerque Del Sol Breakfast Club. I met on Thursday mornings at 6:30 a.m. If anybody ever's in Albuquerque, you can get an early breakfast on your way. I also served in the Crabtree Valley Rotary Club in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, where I lived for 11 years. And then I moved to Kentucky in 2004. And been in this club since 2006. I graduated from the University of Phoenix after losing my scholarship to play college baseball in business and accounting, and have lived in 6 states. I'm going to leave that alone, you can all guess what states. I've been in commercial and corporate banking now going on 30 plus years, and I'm currently a senior vice president at Old National Bank. A couple projects that many of you in the room probably don't know that I led the syndication for the Lynn Family Stadium, soccer stadium that was built. That's public knowledge, so I can provide that. I also was the banker that led the bilateral transaction to build Angel's Envy and do all their bourbon before we sold them to Bacardi. My hobbies are real estate investments. I own 11 properties, snow skiing, playing golf, taking walks with my wife Pamela and our 2 spoiled dogs, Duke and Taco. And yes, that is Duke University. But I know we have U of L in the room. I am a huge U of L fan. A fun fact, while living in New Mexico, I was a high school and college football referee. Married to my best friend Pamela Huerta, who is an institutional money manager at PNC. She graduated from Indiana University and got her MBA from Bellarmine University, where she also got her CFA and her SEMA from Chicago Booth. We have 2 adult boys, Tucker and Austin, both graduated from DeSales High School locally here in Louisville. Tucker is a graduate of U of L Speed School, where he got an industrial engineering degree, and he also got his MBA from University of Louisville as well. And he's a project engineer for a local company, a local international company called Carrier Process Equipment Group. Austin Huerta, and he's off payroll, by the way. Thank God. Austin Huerta, my youngest son, played college soccer at Hanover University, where he graduated with a biology degree. He is now back on payroll. He is he's going to become a doctor, and he's attending U of L, or Bellarmine, where he's getting his doctoral physical therapy degree. Thank you for your time today, and a little history about myself. I do want everybody to know that I'm going to plug Ken Grossman, this whole outfit came from Ken. He's a phenomenal person. Makes me look good when I walk around town.
Appreciate you, Mike. One of our service projects and one of the organizations that we've worked with since its inception almost, the Imagination Library, they've now delivered over 700,000 books as of this month, and there's been more than 13,000 graduates. There's plenty still in the program, because you know it's kids 0 to 5 that get these books each month. And I'd like to invite to the podium Kathleen Golightly Sanders, Executive Director of the Kentucky Historical Society Foundation and Chair of the Imagination Library Committee, for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Ken. I am very honored to chair the Imagination Library Committee and happy to encourage the support of this Rotary Club, of this incredible organization, and the difference it is making for children and families all over our community, and a growing difference. And we're very happy today to be able to present a check to Maria Gurin, who I'll invite up now. Maria is the Executive Director of Imagination Library, and we were very fortunate to be able to support her through our Rotary funds. I'd also like to invite Lori, who heads up. There you are, Secretary. I lost you for a minute, and we'll do the big check. Ooh, she was dead.
Marie does a terrific job as the of Imagination Library. It's great work. All right, I get to introduce the speaker today, too. Apparently he's popular because we have a lot of guests. Dr. Gerry Bradley is the 20th president of U of L. He was previously the executive vice president and university provost of U of L. He served as the chief academic officer and oversaw all the colleges, schools, and deans. He joined U of L as dean of the School of Dentistry in August of 2016, and he served as provost in both interim and permanent roles since 2022. And during Dr. Bradley's tenure as provost, the university made a strong commitment to enrollment growth, student success, and academic excellence, and saw increases in the first-year student persistence rate, financial aid for the university scholarships, and total university enrollment. He led several successful accreditation site visits, hired 8 deans, and collaborated with senior administrators to develop a new university budget model and plans to increase the enrollment and retention rates, as well as fostered the development and launch of several new academic programs. Before coming to U of L, or come to Louisville with his wife and 5 sons, the youngest of which turned 18 today, Dr. Bradley was chair and professor of developmental sciences at Marquette University School of Dentistry, and he served as the associate dean for research and graduate studies. He is a diplomate of the American Board of Orthodontics and a member of the American Dental Association, the American Board of Orthodontics, the American Dental Education Association, the International Association for Dental Research, and the Edward H. Angle Society of Orthodontics. He received his BDS in Cork, Ireland, his orthodontic specialty training and MS degree at The Ohio State University, and a doctorate in dentistry at the University of Bern, Switzerland. And now he's an honorary member of our club. Come on up, Rotary King.
Thank you so much, Ken. A pleasure to be here. Kevin, thank you so much for your warm introduction as well. So, I'm glad, I'm honored to be here. And, didn't know I would become provost. As a matter of fact, when I was asked to be provost, interim provost, by then interim president, Dr. Gonzalez, I said, I will do it as long as I'm not going to be considered for this position going forward. And so here I stand to you today, an unbelievable, I guess, sequence of events that brought me to this position here, but I'm so honored to be the 20th president of the University of Louisville, and it's been a pleasure to serve in this role. And I guess why am I in this role? Because I love my job as dean of the dental school. And if you, like I said, if you'd asked me 5 or 6 years ago, would you want to do anything other than being a dean, I would have said no. But really what happened was when I got into the role of interim provost and the work around our particular students and the makeup of our student body, being primarily first generation Pell eligible and working on things like student success. And we all know what happened during COVID and students coming out of COVID and what happened to our K-12 education and the gaps in learning. And it became really a passion for me around this work. I'm a first generation student, so I know what it has done for me and my family. So, it really sort of changed the trajectory and how I've gotten into the work away from my home at dental school. I'm actually going back there tomorrow to do a bit of teaching with the graduate students. I do try to escape back one half day a month. But anyway, I'm going to talk about a couple of things at the university I think it's important for you all to know, and then of course there'll be lots of questions. But I'm very proud of the fact that we had our May commencement. We had over 2,000 students walk the stage. And in a sort of a change in tradition, we invited a speaker, a graduate from the College of Business, Bill Reddy, who is the CEO of Pinterest, to come and speak to the graduates. And it was really an amazing event. And those of you who follow Bill, he's from E-Town. He's a first generation student from Hardin County High School, and his wife. And, what he's accomplished in his career is just an amazing speech he gave to the students, talking about the things that shaped his life and the mentors that he had made during his journey. And so a shout out to the College of Business there for their successful protege and alumnus coming back. I was very proud of the fact that as provost we started the process of developing a strategic plan for the university, and the plan was approved in January 2026 by the Board of Trustees, and it's a 5-year plan, and it's called Igniting Potential, Shaping Tomorrow. And I'm very proud of the fact that we spent a lot of time putting that plan together in a very thoughtful, collaborative way. And we asked for multiple engagements from campus community members. And, we've really made some very targeted strategic decisions around that strategic plan. We've invested and we will invest in that plan. And as part of that process, we had a difficult budget to develop, right? So, part of the process of developing the budget is that we asked all of the units to essentially give up 10% of their budgets so that we could use those funds to strategically reallocate to priorities that are contained in that strategic plan. Because you've got to be intentional, and I really believe in strategic planning is the way to go forward. I've always been a plan advocate, and I believe it's a living document. And as we all know, what's going on in higher ed right now, and in the world of athletics, and the world of healthcare, it's got to be dynamic, and it's got to be nimble. And so we began that process of making our priorities important. We're actually bringing the budget to approval to the Board of Trustees in June, and it's a $1.94 billion budget. It's the highest we've ever had in our history. It's a 9.4% increase over last year, but it was still a difficult budget to balance, because of the rising costs and because of the flattening of state appropriations, it makes our job hard to do. And so I appreciate all the leaders in this room, and Amy is one of the deans that was involved in making some difficult decisions. There were things that we had to stop doing that we had been doing. And you probably had heard some of the decisions made around ending our relationship with the Early Learning Center, the closure of the planetarium. Again, difficult decisions to do, but they were appropriate because, again, we have to concentrate on our core mission and our core vision. And our mission is to educate and serve the public and to drive societal and health outcomes. And that's what I'm particularly proud of at this university. The couple of other things I guess I'll talk about as regards highlights, and then I'll talk a little bit about our latest rankings and things like that. But the state have been friendly to us. The state assembly and the state legislative branch over the last 3 biannual periods have been very supportive of the University of Louisville. As I mentioned, we were flat on appropriations this year. Again, the state had to make just tough decisions like they always have to do. But we were very proud to break ground on the $280 million building on the Health Science Campus. I mean, that's a game changer downtown. I mean, that is going to be one of its kind in the country. It's going to be probably the largest simulation hub in the country around medical, dental, nursing, and public health. And it'll be a combined building that will have research, educational spaces. We will have learning opportunities for our healthcare partners even to come in and to really learn cutting edge changes in healthcare. So we're really excited about that. Vernon had mentioned around with the introduction of Jeff Guan, and Jeff, again, I'll thank you for your leadership. With the launch of Cardinal Intelligence, the Provost has taken that as a major initiative of our time as Provost. And what we're doing is we're developing a strong cadre of artificial intelligence experts, and we're developing training across the campus. We've gotten, as mentioned about the appropriate use of AI. We have done a lot of work on this in the last 2 or 3 years. We've had several committees working on this and continue to work on this. But of course, we all know that AI is a tool, and when used appropriately, it will help us enormously. And so that is our role as we look at the development of AI across this campus. The introduction, and I'm sure I won't get a question on sports today, the introduction of our Cardinal Ventures, a non-profit 5013C, was again formed for such what is happening in the world of athletics, right? We live in a very, very different world, and we have formed a 5013C that will act for us as a non-profit, but its goal and role will be to manage NIL contracts, to look at monetization of different aspects of our brand, which are really important when we're dealing with what's going on right now, because we all know it's an arms race out there with very little controls out there and very, very few people following the rules. And so, it's really important that we are mindful of the challenges around that, because I know how much the Cardinal brand means to this university and to this city and to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And people talk about, well, athletics, why are they all getting all this money? Athletics is the market. And what the brand brings to us is being a member of the AACC, and the fact that our enrollment is growing enormously, and part of that, of course, is the brand, and the brand is an important brand. So I'll talk a little bit, I'm sure I'll get more questions on that. I'm happy to get into more detail on that. I would think, another couple of things I'll just mention that, we've had active partnerships with U of L, county public schools, the Brandeis School of Law, I think the Mary Byron Center, I think for those of you who saw the news there, the Mary Byron Intimate Violence Center was created as a result of Mary Byron's tragic death in the early 1990s, and we were very proud of the fact that the law school has been taking such a lead on intimate partner violence. The Kent School of Social Work, for example, celebrated its 90th anniversary this year. 90 years. Very well. People don't notice about the Kent School, but for the numbers of FTE in it, it is probably the most productive social work school in the country. It has over $27 million in grants. It's nearly like, if you take that as one FTE, it's nearly every faculty member has $1 million kind of grant. That's just unbelievable, the work it's done. Over 90 presentations they had last year alone. And so they're really kind of knocking it out of the park. The McConnell Center just celebrated its 35 years of advancing civic education, and we had a special anniversary event for that. We recently actually had Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas who came and was the latest speaker, and so we really enjoyed having Tom on campus. I was in Frankfurt a lot during the budget session during the course of the spring, and it was U of L had the highest number of interns combined of all of the universities. Over 40 students were interning in Frankfurt, and again talks to the civic mindedness of our students and our ability to engage and to be a part of the process and to learn is just amazing. We're also very proud of the fact that we were a military-friendly goal-designated school for the 3rd consecutive year, and approximately 10% of our students are military-connected students, so over 2,500 students. So a couple of things I just wanted to highlight for you all that you may not be aware of, but everybody's aware of the R1 research classification, and everybody's aware of our community engaged classification potentially. But what people may not be aware is we have a triple Carnegie designation, and we're only one of 11 universities in the country to have it. We're the only one in the ACC, we're the only one in Kentucky, but it's an opportunity college. And that was the recent designation. And what is an opportunity college? They give it to colleges that actually have their students have an important part of their learning to be in the community, so to be involved in the community. And also, when they graduate, they have 1.5 times the income of their peers that graduated from high school. And so we were very proud to get that designation, because I think to me it reflects what this university is about. We have 37% of our university students are first-generation students. 43% of our university students are Pell eligible, which means that they're coming from low income backgrounds, and we stand for transformative change. We stand for transformative change in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We are on our way to our highest enrollment again this fall. We broke the previous record, 24,113. We were 25,005 in 2025, and we'll probably be close to 25,400 in the fall of this year. And we're proud of that because we have been very active about committing funds through our Cardinal Commitment Grant to, we know unmet financial need is the biggest barrier for our students. We want that to be not a barrier, and so we've invested our own general funds in supporting students, and that will increase our retention. And my goal is to drive our retention numbers to way above 70%, by the time we're done. And right now we're in the 60s, and so this is sort of a goal that I had set for us. Over the last 2 years, we've risen 37 spots in the U.S. News and World Rankings report. We are now tied with UC. There used to be about a 30-point difference between us and the neighbor up the road. There's now only a 10-point difference in U.S. News and World Reports. And why is that? It's because the median debt of our students that graduate is $20,500. That is $2,000 less than that other school down the road, which I love very deeply. So I think, again, it talks about what we're about and what we're doing. I'm also excited to tell you that you may have noticed south of the Speed School, the Innovation Park. It was called the Research Park. It's now called the Innovation Park, and we'll probably look at some naming there. But you might have noticed there's some activity going on there. Well, it was completely cleared and flattened. There was a lot of debris there. But we will actually be putting our first building in there over the next 2 years. We have gotten funding through the help of Senator McConnell to get our first building, a bioscience building, will go in there. And we also have a request in for a second building that we're putting into the congressional delegation on behalf of Senator McConnell. I believe that this is going to be such an exciting game changer for this university. We envision a kind of a promenade behind the Speed School that will actually connect, because you have a little bit of a railway track problem right in the middle there. So we're going to have a kind of a welcoming opening promenade that will allow an interface with a wonderful green space back there where these buildings will go. We've contracted with Wexford to help us design the Innovation Park and bring partners in. I had the pleasure to be in Charlotte where I looked at one that they have done down there, and it was very similar to ours. Ours is 39 acres, theirs was a 30-acre site to develop, and just amazing. We're looking at graduate housing, potentially a hotel. You look at partners coming in. We have a request in for an additive manufacturing building. And again, bringing in partners that will partner with our students. We also want it to be a vibrant community where there will be a restaurant, bar there will be student engagement and even graduate housing. So again, a lot more to follow on that in the months ahead. And a lot of what I tell you is sort of, kind of breaking news, because really the acceleration of it has come very rapidly with the announcement of the building. And so, the other thing is that, our undergrad tuition is 15% lower than the median R1 undergraduate tuition in the country. And so again, proud of the fact that, we're there to really provide affordable quality, high quality education for our students. So the last thing I'll just leave you with is that, when we approved our mission and vision statement, we wanted to be very clear about what we stand for. And, part of it was, we stand for our people. And we are very proud of the fact that, our cardinal principles were approved by the board. These were principles that actually Dr. Bendapudi had brought in that had resonated with people, like things like and so for those of you, cardinal stands for different words. So C is of cardinal is community of care. We're a community of care, and it talks about our values and our principles. But I'll just say that we're here to ensure that every Kentuckian can access high quality, high value degrees that lead to meaningful employment without being priced out along the way. Cost is the greatest barrier, I will tell you, to our students and their completion. So we're committed to holding costs down, and we gave a presentation to the state yesterday about our budget, because there's again always the questions around bloating in higher ed. I can tell you that we are not. We are very lean and mean, and as a matter of fact, we have had a reduction in administrative numbers of about 8% in the last 4 or 5 years, while our faculty has increased. So again, I think we are being responsible stewards, and so with that, I will stop there, and happy to take lots of questions, I'm sure, on a number of items. So, thank you.
Dr. Bradley, my name is Tom Bonert, and you might be happy that I don't have a question for you. Instead, I am wanting to take this opportunity to introduce my guest, who had no choice but to come late because of his wife's traffic accident. So my friend, Phil Marshall, is probably known to a number of you in this room. Phil is the director and president of Kids Center for Pediatric Therapies, right down the road on Eastern Parkway, an amazing organization, which parenthetically I'll say I was on the board of directors for 32 years. So, Phil, thank you.
Hello, Dr. Bradley. I'm Dr. Kevin Fields, and I wanted to first say thank you to you for something you probably had nothing to do with, but thank you anyway.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so I'm doing some research and development work with one of your peers, Dr. Kevin Cosby, president of Simmons College. Sure. And we're doing a project called the Algebra Project at Simmons, just getting kids engaged in a summer math literacy camp. And due to the leadership of Dr. Douglas Craddock, who had a lot to do with it here, we're going to be coming to the University of Louisville to experience your additive manufacturing work here. So thanks to you and thanks to Doug. Thanks to Jonathan Hughes, Dr. Jonathan Hughes, who really facilitated that on behalf of the Speed School.
Sure.
So we really appreciate the university's partnership. I do have a question. You brought up artificial intelligence, and that's an area I'm doing a lot of research in as well. And you may not have had a chance to read what Pope Leo XIV just published last month around the ethical concerns around ethical AI, through his encyclical, this most recent one. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts around the ethical use of AI, not only in academics, but also in making sure that, the disparate impacts that it could exacerbate are addressed, through education.
Sure.
Just love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very valid point, and Gerry Portillo has taken a very thoughtful stance on this, and I think the concerns we all share, right, around the ethical use of it. We all know from our own experiences how it can be, it can make up stuff. It will lead you down a path that is not at all correct. I mean, I met somebody recently, and they were an attorney. And there was a brief entered into a court, a case in southern Kentucky, where an attorney brought a brief around a bill that had been passed by the state. And the bill had never been passed, but it had recordings of minutes. It had people named who were people you would have thought would have been behind it. But when those people were contacted, the bill didn't exist. They actually had to enter in an affidavit from the legislative branch to say this bill does not exist. So it's an example of how AI, if not used appropriately, are not judged. And I think, one of the things we have is we have a committee that would be formed around the ethical use of it and how it's being used. And we certainly started this journey just like everybody, 3 years ago when this burst on the scene. The University of Florida is one of the lead universities in the AI space. They were the first one to declare themselves the first AI university. But they were a model for the rest of us to kind of follow. And they created a number of committees, and particularly around the ethical use of AI. So we're mirroring that. And I do think that it's important that our students have to understand, of course, critical thinking. There's always going to be a human needing to analyze this. There's always going to have to be checks and balances. And this is where the value of a higher education degree is you have to have creative thinking. And you've got to critique, and you've got to be thinking. And I think it just brings home the fact that we've got to be very careful about how we are rolling it out and how it's used. And it should be constantly balanced. I know Kevin Nolan was here last time to speak to you all. And of course, Kevin has done a lot around the AI space in his firm he's working around. And the same issues, they're looking at their own language models to make sure that they're being checked and that they're being re-verified and all of that. So I think we have to tread very carefully. Thank you.
Dr. Bradley, Jeff Underhill. I have never filled a cavity before, but my company has saved the historic Myers Dental School building from demolition and converted it to housing. With that in mind, I was glad to hear last fall when I attended an event and you spoke passionately about love for preservation. I'm wondering, how can we get that passion that you expressed that evening directed towards saving the Forge building here on campus?
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up because we actually are trying to save that building and that structure because I do believe that it does bring so much character to that site. So actually we have been working, as I mentioned, with Wexford, and we are looking at the engineering aspects of that building, but our intention is to save that building if we can. Yeah. And I think it can be. I mean, I think we had a report that I've been told said that it couldn't be, that it was structurally unsound, but it actually, I don't believe that it is, based on what we currently know.
Hi, Dr. Bradley. Thanks for being here. I'm Alice Bridges. I wanted to ask you about the impact of changes on federal immigration enforcement and rules on undergraduate or graduate attraction and retention?
Yeah, I mean, I think, our undergraduate enrollment is down from last year, as it is across the country. We all know that. And I think there's a lot of, fear, as these federal stories were breaking, what was going on in different spaces. I think that we've reached out to all of our students to make sure those who are on visas that they feel supported. It's important that in this time that, again, we're a community of care, and it's important that we support people. I think it is, the reality of the current climate that we're probably not going to see an increase in international enrollment. Even when you look at international applicants, it was declining even prior to COVID. And so international enrollment has been on a decline, because guess what? Everybody wants to keep their kids. We all have an enrollment cliff. And these countries that we would get a lot from, like China and India, they've built their own universities now because they want to keep their own people there as well. So I think that we clearly try to make sure we support our students. We caution them, to make sure that they are not doing things that would potentially get them into trouble. Scanning a phone, social media. This is things that people have got to be very careful about doing. And so we try to counsel and advise. We haven't had any incident on our campus. We've not had ICE on campus or anything like that. And so I think that we certainly are trying to work with the environment that we are dealt with, and we will continue to try to bring international enrollment. I myself, and so we will continue to work. I know the College of Business have always been in the international space, and we'll continue to try to get people to come here, and we will strive to do that and make them feel welcome.
Hi, Dr. Bradley. I'm Vivek Nirmal, and I'm a recent graduate of the MSBA program, and I'm also serving as the acting president for the Rotary Club of Louisville. My question is, I know that there's a program, Global MBA, and are we planning to have some more global connections or partnerships with other places?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that question.
Just as we have Global MBA program.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, are we planning to have some more partnerships or connections outside?
Well, the College of Business dean would probably be better able to comment on that, but absolutely, we're looking at developing new programs across the board, and we want to try to develop, niche areas, and we have niche areas here in Kentucky. The equine one is a good example, right? I mean, we know we have bourbon is one of our trademarks here. One of the things actually I'm doing is I'm going to Ireland, as I mentioned here at the table tomorrow, but I'm actually meeting with Trinity College Dublin and University College Dublin to see if there's anything that we can do from a collaboration perspective around joint programs, academic, interchanges. But yeah, I'm a great believer in it's a global market, right? And if we can develop creative programming that will make us a place that people can see that we offer something as a niche, then I think it will help us as we face our enrollment challenges. So all about that.
100%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bradley, Dan Heitledge, can we talk sports?
Absolutely. I'm surprised it took one to the fourth person to get here.
I don't know what this group's problem is, frankly. Two questions, I guess, sort of related. One, if you could talk through what Cardinal Ventures is, and two, there just seems to be this understanding or this prevailing thought, perhaps fact, that the athletics department is borrowing $30 million a year, and they're doing it every year until eventually, they hit bottom, and most other universities appear reportedly are doing something similar. You could just talk through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the challenges, of course, of athletics and the budget is that it does have a $30 million deficit. That's been reported, and we have a line of credit that will be used for that. Part of what the Cardinal Ventures Group is formed to do is to look at increased monetization of our athletics program. We feel that there's a lot of opportunity that we haven't really taken advantage of. And so part of it is clearly bringing in more revenue to help cut that deficit, right? Which is why both Larry, board chair, and Josh Hurd, we've been very passionate on the scene of writing our op-ed around what's facing athletics right now, because it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable at all. And so right now, we've been very actively engaged in supporting the bill that just dropped in the Senate by both Senator Cruz and Senator Cantwell. It's a bipartisan bill, and it does many of the things that we have called for, including caps on spending, transparency, the portal. Right now we've unlimited transfers. We know that if a student transfers twice, the chances of them graduating is 7% of the roll, right? And what college sports was designed was to get a college degree, and it's all around the student. And let's face it, we're talking about 1% of students who are making this big money. And so really what we're trying to do is, we're being very public about the reality and being very transparent about it. Are we in a challenging environment? Absolutely, we are in a challenging environment. But we've been very open about the budget and about, this is not sustainable. There's a myth somehow that athletics was always, being mismanaged, or that somehow it had tons of money all over its sort of history. But if you look back on budgets, they've been using savings even before the NIL settlement. And so when the NIL settlement came along, can you imagine a business, it's approximately $170 million business, suddenly has to come up with $21.5 million in the next year? I mean, what business can do that? And so it's lo and behold, why is there a deficit of 30 million? Well, with 21 of it, 0.3 is right there. So we're doing everything we can, because you've got to be competitive too, because it's a revenue-based success model. And so what we're trying to do is to make sure we are building competitive teams that will help on the revenue side of it. But I won't lie. I mean, this is tough business, and we are doing everything we can to be fiscally responsible. We also have said that we're not going to threaten university finances. So this is a separate issue that athletics will work through. But I'll be there to support it. So the CVG is designed, the Carbon Ventures Group is designed to be, get people around the table who have expertise in these areas that can help us as we look at additional monetization of NIL, of marketing, and it's a non-profit, so it essentially feeds back into the athletics department budget, any additional funds. So I hope that gives you some clarity on that.
Dr. Bradley, Ken Grossman, I want to thank Dan for bringing in this sports question, because I got a follow-up question on that. I am a Indiana University Business School graduate. I'm a multi-generational University of Louisville season basketball holder, and was friends with a lot of the players over the years, Junior Bridgman, Robbie Valentine, Coach Crum. But my question is, I've seen what it meant for Indiana to win that national championship, how it's totally changed the trajectory of the university, the money that's coming in there, the students that want to go there. And the other side of it, though, is I think about Ken's former colleague, Coach Valvano. He used to always say the United States is the only country where colleges are involved in sports. So my question is kind of a philosophical question. As an academician, you see college players making $5-6 million a year. When that kid comes into your classroom, how do they handle that philosophically as to what's valued by our society and what their place is?
Yeah, well, you're assuming they walk into the classroom.
Yeah, I get that too. The other piece of it is I did know Junior pretty well, and he never made more than $350,000 playing basketball, but he was the second wealthiest former professional athlete in the country. So he must have learned something at U of L.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, clearly, should players be rewarded for, their success and the revenues that they bring? I think nobody disagrees with the fact that there should be a reward system for them. But what has happened, of course, is what nobody really envisioned to be essentially what's happening now, where 18-year-olds are getting these $3 to $4 million contracts. And, you've got agents out there who are, quite honestly, they're unregulated. And they're preying on these kids and families, and they're sometimes charging 20 to 25% commissions even on long-term income after their college degrees. And because these are young 18-year-olds who a lot of times don't have, solid advice, or, they don't have in the background, a business background, they've been taken advantage of. And so what we have here is a really situation that is not good. And I think, if there's going to be a hard cap, part of the legislation talks about maybe, looking at market value for certain positions in football, and that's the range, and that's the business. And you have to, with an NIL contract, you have to have a solid business purpose, number one, and number two, it has to be within the range of a salary level. And I think if Congress does that and actually bring enforcement, because right now there's no enforcement, and so the College Sports Commission is sort of, approving deals. It's not sure if those are the only deals. There's no transparency in it. And so this is why a call to action. So for all of you who may, reach out to your senators, your congressmen, women, and really talk about supporting this bill, because we believe this is the answer. It's not the answer for everything. There are things in this bill that are not good, but the fact that Senator Cruz and Senator Cantwell were able to spend the last 6 months coming together, and they're not happy, either of them, in this bill, because that's a good sign. They had to compromise to get to this level. And so we have some bipartisan support in there. Senator Coons and Senator Schmidt have also, so 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. If that gets through the Senate, and it's a good chance then with momentum when it goes back into the House. So the problem with the House is it's so politicized right now. The SCORE Act could never come out of it because it was a Republican bill. It's seen as a Republican bill. So yeah, congressional action, we believe, is what's needed here.
Oh, yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All the best with all you have to do. All right, Barbara, how's next week look?
Okay, so next week is looking great, and as you all are looking up here, it's yes and on that former slide. It was 51 hours ago that my title got updated. It's the 8th CEO title I've had in recent years. So now, yes, it is true, ladies and gentlemen, and President Ken, I am the interim CEO of the Bella Louisville Riverboats, okay? All right, so next week, and Dr. Bradley, thank you for that. As a 1979 graduate of the College of Business, it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. Thank you. We promise free fillings. That's why the room is crowded. Just kidding, sir.
You wouldn't want me to be a filling.
The fillings, as you all remember last week, I said he's going to fill your mind, your body, and your soul with some real excitement about the state of this university. Another round of applause for Dr. Bradley. All right, please scan the QR code or let Tracy or Delene know through email that by Monday at noon of this coming next week, our next speaker is Jessica Dawkins. Jessica is a young woman serving as the president and CEO of Locust Grove, the historic Locust Grove, and she's also vice chair of our very own America 250 Kentucky Committee. Now, as America approaches the 250th anniversary of our birth of our country, Louisville is also preparing for our own milestone in 2028. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to go find that out for yourself. All right? Historic Locust Grove, she's going to ask us a few questions next week as she speaks. She's going to ask us to think about who are we and what kind of city do we hope to become. And she's going to explore through initiatives like the Louis Virtue and the Indigenous Partnership, the history, the civic virtue, and the sense of place and how that can shape Louisville's next chapter together. So please RSVP, President Ken, it's all yours.
Thank you, President Barbara. And another distinguished U of L grad will be with us the following week, Chris Redmond, who's got a playoff game on Sunday at 6 o'clock. So I guess we're going to be watching it at Craig's house. they're in the Final Four of their inaugural year of the U of L. So another grad made good. All right. Let's Rotary table. Craig Sherman, stand. Getting ready for his party Sunday, and will share his wealth of knowledge on Rotary. If you happen to run into Deline on Tuesday or Louis Straub, wish them a happy birthday, and I hope you all have a great weekend. We are adjourned.